Thank you, Tanmay, for conducting this special session on Dr. Chatterjee very well. Now we'll have our inaugural session, and may I now request Sushmita Dekalak to just prepare the table for the trio one, we'll call it. And to save the time, I just, before the dignitaries I'll call on the dais, Mr. Mohanty could not make it because he has some special. Mr. B.P. Singh is Director in Charge, DSP and ISP Sale. And may I call upon Mr. Abhinav Chandra, is the IAS Secretary of Government of West Bengal. We are just preparing the table, but to save the time, I thought that let me start. And Mr. A.K. Rath is the head Brownfield Projects Odisha, ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel. Yeah. Hello, good morning. May I now request our dignitaries on the dais, Mr. B.P. Singh, Director in Charge, DSP and ISP Steel Authority of India Limited. Please come, sir. Please take your seat. May I call on Mr. Abhinav Chandra, I request Dr. Bhattacharya also, our keynote speaker. Mr. A.K. Rath, Dr. Ramanuj, Dr. Ramanuj, is the Director IMT CSI at Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Mr. Akira Goto, he has already come. And Dr. Dadashish Bhattacharya is there. All are here. And Mr. Sarkar, A.K. Sarkar, he is from Tata Steel. He is from Steel Tech. Very good morning and welcome you all. Dignitaries on the dais, of the dais, ladies and gentlemen, namaskar, and very welcome to the city of joy. It is not only joy, but it's a double joy because we are in Devi Pokho. So we know that we are this week called special thing when Ma Goddess Durga is already there. There's second Ditya here. So we also believe that, Mother Goddess comes here every year and to bless us and to kill the devil. So we are here to celebrate with all these, not only this seminar, this is the 16th of October and 16th in the series of Steel Tech seminar. And I want all you to give a big round of applause for our presence here and David. Thank you. To save time, as you saw that Dr. Chatterjee's one, we don't light any lamp, we don't give bouquets and all. This is because this is a tight-packed program of Steel Tech. Always we get one thing that you are not finishing in time. So that is because of so much intense of this technical discussion and people, so good speakers around the world they have come. They have come from all the way from Japan, Australia, all different parts of the country. A big thank you to all. And with this small brief, I can say that I'll not stand between the speakers, dignitaries, and also the technical presentations which are there, the two technical sessions with the 10 deliverables, and also very awaited, panel discussion which is there. So with this, I once again thank you all for coming, and I'll request one by one, you have got the program to address the gathering, and I can just say for all of them, for this session as well other sessions, try to maintain the time so that benefit of that total technical session what you have prepared, the total program it is done. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure now to call upon Mr. B.P. Singh. He is the Director in Charge Banpur and Durgapur Steel Plant. So there's a very illustrative, profile of Mr. Singh. So I may not go through all to save the time. It is there in the screen, and also we'll cover it when we do the proceedings. Mr. Singh is a graduate of in 1989 from mining and machine engineering from IIT Dhanbad, formerly ISM Dhanbad. Thereafter he joined SEL. So in October 2019 he became Executive Director Operation of BSP. He has a strong illustrious career. He was in April 2022, he assumed the role of Director in Charge DIC of Banpur and Durgapur Steel Plant, and presently he spearheads two integrated steel plants, DSP and ISCO steel plant, along with the special steel facility of alloy steel plant and SAIL Growth Works SGW Kulti, further enhancing the plant performance, achieving the best ever production figure and earning ISP Banpur recognition at the best integrated steel plant in 2023. With this small brief, may I now request Mrs. Singh to address the gathering, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice introduction. Respected dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, fellow steelmakers, all other delegates, members, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning to all of you. First of all, my tributes, my regards to Dr. Chatterjee from my side, from side of my all delegates from ISCO Steel Plant and Durgapur Steel Plant. I have a small presentation here. Steel industry, as all of us know, is one of the key sectors as far as the manufacturing is concerned in India. And it is providing support to not only logistics, infrastructure development, but it is also giving employment to millions of people inside the country. As far as industrialization of the country is concerned, it is laying a strong foundation in the rapid industrialization. Our steel production before deregulation, it was around 22 million ton before 1992. Now the production capacity presently it is around 150 million ton crude steel per annum, and we are producing around 120 million ton. During the calendar year, we know that the production capacities of all the major countries have shown a rapid degrowth, around 6 to 7%, but India, the growth has been there in the preceding 2 years, around 6 to 7% growth as far as the steel production is concerned. In spite of this growth, we see there is a lot of scope of further improvement of the growth in India, as the steel consumption, per capita consumption of steel in the country, which is presently around 81 kgs, and the world average is around 222 kgs. Traditionally, the consumption of steel is closely linked to the rate of economic growth, we all know, and the Indian steel industry contributes to around 2% of the GDP of the country. The projection of the GDP growth of the country is around 6 to 7% in the coming years, and the world projection which is around 3%. So it is said that the Indian GDP is on the path of the trajectory, and in the coming years the growth of the GDP will be there. Considering this growth in the GDP, the Steel Ministry has made a steel policy in 2017 which tells that the per capita consumption of the steel by 2030 has to increase to 160 kgs. The entire demand of the special steel, which is coming through imports route, has to be met by the country. We have to attain a global standards in the industrial safety and health management and reduce the carbon footprint. And to achieve all this, the overall production capacity of the steel in the country has to go to the level of 300 million ton by 2030-32. In the journey towards the sustainable growth, the major challenges and the opportunities, the topic of the today's conference, that is what are the challenges and opportunities which are going to come. Safety of the men and the machinery inside the plant is one of the major challenge which will going to come, and keeping with the government's commitment to the COP26, environmental sustainability will be a major challenge. National steel policy tells that 300 million ton production has to come by 2030, for which raw material security and logistics support will also be an area of major concern. The cost of financing for financing our growths will also be an area of concern in our days to come. At the same time, there will be a lot of opportunities also. Talking about the opportunities, the government's thrust on modernization and expansion and the development of the infrastructure in the country will be a major opportunity for the steel makers of the country, young and vibrant workforce, and the development of IT industry in the country will be the opportunities for the growth of the steel industries inside the country. Talking about the challenges in detail, safety, we talk about the safety of the people and machinery inside the steel industry. This will be a major challenge in the coming days because in the steel industry we see lot of contractual workforce being engaged and lot of skill depletion coming days. So skilling up these contractual workforces and taking care of their safety will be a major challenges in the current operations and also in the forthcoming operations and in our future projects, for which the safe behavior of the people, safe working conditions and following SOPs and SMPs will be the major thrust as far as the safety of the people is concerned. And to take care of that, technology-enabled safety improvement, safety cultural transformation, safety consultant appointment, all these steps we are taking in Steel Authority of India Limited. Environmental sustainability will be a major challenge in the coming days as far as the existence of the steel plant is concerned. The CO2 emission, around 12% of the total CO2 emission is coming from the steel industries, and in India, of the global standards, the Indian steel industry, the emission is around 2.5 tons per ton crude steel production. And if we see the global average, it is about 1.95 tons per ton crude steel production. Most of the Indian industries, around 45 to 50% of the Indian industries, steel industries, is in the BF-BOF route. And in this route, we all know the coal used for direct reduction process, the coal used for reducing the iron as a major fuel, has a major impact on the CO2 emission. In our future expansions also, we are seeing that major steel players are expanding in the BF and BOF route. So this will be a major challenge, reducing the CO2 emissions from the present level of maybe around 2.4 tons per ton crude steel and going below 2 tons per ton crude steel by 2030 as per the government guidelines. Lot of thrust and by government for installing DRI and EF routes also has been there, and viabilities has been sought out. But the major challenge as far as the DRI and EF route is the availability of the scraps, availability of the gases, natural gases, the cost of the natural gases, and the availability of the green hydrogen and the cost of the green hydrogen for producing the DRI route and going through the EF routes. As far as our reducing the CO2 emissions are concerned, the major steps like increasing the efficiencies of the blast furnace by reducing the coke rates, increasing the CDI to reduce the overall CO2 emissions. In spite of all energy efficient technologies and taking care of all the best available technologies, we see that the carbon emission in the BF-BF route, which presently is around 2.45 to 2.5 tons per ton CO2, will not come below 2.2 tons per ton crude steel in spite of all these best available technologies. So for that, it's very important to go in for carbon capture, carbon sequestering, and use of alternate fuels like biochars for syngases and other alternative fuels like green hydrogen, so that the overall carbon emission of the BF-BF route comes down below 2 or maybe below that also. As far as environmental sustainability is concerned, apart from CO2 emissions, the other areas of the concern is again PM emission, reducing PM emission as per the recent government guidelines. The earlier PM emission, the guidelines which was around 50 mg per normal meter cube, now the guidelines which is around 30 mg, all our dust emission systems has to be upgraded to 30 mg, and in the coming days maybe it will be that the norms will be revised to around 10 mg per normal meter cube. Also, seeing the scarcity of the water in the coming days, the overall water consumption, specific water consumption, which is presently around 2.8 meter cube per ton crude steel production, has to go down below 2 meter cube per ton crude steel production, for which substantial zero liquid discharge schemes and other schemes are under considerations. To have the dependency on the imported coal. Now, if we are going in for expanding our production capacity from 160 million ton to 300 million ton in the country, there will be a huge dependency on the imported coking coal. The present around 80 to 85% of our sourcing of the imported coking coal is from Australia, US, and Indonesia. It is very important that we get good quality coal, coking coal in India, and that will be a major challenge in our modernization and expansion program, because the washeries, the present washeries in the coal mines, the washeries attached in the coal mines are not sufficient enough for providing good quality coking coal for our Indian steel industries. So it is very important that for the Coal India to design the washeries, to upgrade their washeries, and to bring in new washeries, so that the availability of the indigenous coking coal will be there, and the sourcing of the imported coal from the other sources, other countries will reduce down. Otherwise, in our all future expansions, it will become a big threat, because the imported coking coal, the prices and availability both are always varying. As far as the availability of the iron ore is concerned, again the gangs in the iron ore present in the mines are increasing day by day. The beneficiation of the iron ore in the mines again will be a challenge for all mines of the SAIL steel plants and other steel plants. As far as our expansion of the country is concerned, of the steel sector, 300 million ton, for producing 1 million ton, around 4 million ton of logistic support is required for inbound raw material supply and outbound finished steel movement. So for producing 300 MTA, around 1200 MTA of logistic support will be required, for which the substantial support from the government regarding rolling stock, regarding dedicated freight corridors will be required to be built up. Then only country will be able to produce around 300 MTPA of production of crude steel. There are many other opportunities also, like which I told, like the increased spending by government on infrastructure and housing has been a major growth driver for the steel industry, and it is estimated that around 10 trillion rupees would be spent by government on the infrastructure in the next couple of years. Further, to boost the investment, the government of India has come up with PLI schemes, the schemes for MSMEs, and schemes for various Make in India manufacturing in India. This will boost the economy, and also this will boost the total 300 MTPA production of steel inside the country. The leveraging digitalization will be a major thrust, because the way AI and digitalization is coming up in the India, sensorization, this will help in modernization and expansion of the steel industry, and in Indian steel industry has to take advantage from it, of the latest techniques of AI, automation and augmented realities. Talking about the expansions of the steel plant, the SAIL also has made its expansion plan from the current production capacity of 20 MTPA crude steel capacity. SAIL has its expansion plan to expand its production from the present capacity of 20 MTPA and to go to around 35 MTPA by 2030-32, for which 3 steel plants, ISCO steel plant, Banpur, Bokaro steel plant and Durgapur steel plant, and also Rourkela steel plant, has been selected for modernization and expansion, wherein around 4 to 5 million ton capacity expansion in all the plants will be coming, and where we will be going for flat and long steel productions. As far as cost reduction and profit maximization is concerned, in order to remain sustainable in the competitive market, it's important that we have cost reduction measures for ensuring our raw material security and reducing the dependence on the imported coal, because overall the cost of the steel, if we see the total cost of the steel production, around 50% of the cost comes from the procurement of the cost of the imported coal, and 20 to 25% the cost of iron ore, which is required for making the steel. So around 70 to 75% of the cost comes from the cost of the raw materials. So the supply of raw materials, that is imported coking coal, and supply of indigenous coal, getting good quality iron ore will be a major thrust as far as the cost reduction is concerned. Maintaining the health of equipments inside the plant, maintaining the health of the equipment of the present operations, maintaining the health of the equipment of future operations, stabilization of our whatever expansions we are doing to bring in these expansions in time will be a major thrust as far as the cost reduction and profit maximization is concerned. Developing value-added grade steels, newer grade steels which are not produced by secondary producers will be a thrust area for primary producers and big steel plants wherein we will be getting advantage in BF and BOF routes. To summarize, it is important that to improve and to grow in from present level and to go to the level of 300 MTPA, it is very important that we improve our processes. We go in the method of, on the way of improvement, for which it is very important that we adopt the method of connected people, connected processes, and connected technology. Once again, thank you, Steel Tech, for calling us here, the delegates from our steel plants and all the delegates. And I am very much sure the interactions and the participations here will enrich all of us and all the delegates, and wish bright future for the success of the seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Singh. You could imagine why that steel plant, they got the best steel plant award with his technical knowledge and this insight. And now I have a pleasure to call upon Mr. Avinav Chandra, IAS. He is Secretary Government of West Bengal. He has a very illustrious profile, but I'll give it in a briefly. He is an IAS having 26 years of experience, 22 years in government, and earlier to that he was 4 years in corporate sector. He is an engineer from College of Engineering, Pune, research scholar from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and MBA from Indian School of Business. He has a skill of urban development, regional planning, land acquisition, skill development, e-governance, use of information technology, labor, human resources, water supply, sanitation, you name it, probably he is there, and marketing also, you know. And he has received international recognition and several national awards for government processes, re-engineering, digitization, automation, and innovation, which is actually very much is a theme of our subject also. And he actually has experience having worked in the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, United Nations, Japanese Fund of Poverty Reduction, funded supported projects. He has worked in all 4 corners of states of India. So Jammu Kashmir, Tamil Nadu, Assam, Mizoram, Gujarat, and inter alia 16 states of India. So therefore, our complete India is here with the international. I'll request Mr. Chandra to tell a few words. In addition to him, he is a fraternity was same. His father was an IPS, is from Maharashtra. My father was an IPS from Odisha cadre. We have very good bonding. Yes, Mr. Chandra.
Thank you so much. Well, with that introduction, I'd like to keep it brief, and I'll try to answer your questions, because a lot of you have come from various parts of India, abroad, and primarily from the steel industry. I presume most of us are engineers. Still, I would like to answer most of the questions from a journalistic point of view rather than from a technical point of view. I'll try and keep my discourse towards you a little, positive and little introspective, driven. I'll start with the term steel is a very, has been derived and has been known for quite some time. Derivatives are there. You can Google it on the internet, but you will find that there is some kind of semblance that came from the word sthe. Sthe or sthirta, as we know in Hindi, came from the Sanskrit word which was there in the Harappan civilization. Thereafter, it was taken into the German context, and that's where the Australians, the anglicized version of it started to call it steel. With that small little thing, steel industry is currently dominating 2% of the country's GDP, employs 25 lakh households. You have 25 lakh households for which you are giving direct or indirect employment. The production in the past 10 years has gone up 75%. Domestic demand has gone up 80%. India is having 1/5, that's 20% of the world's iron reserves. I'm not going to the quality of it, but then yes, it does. It's the second largest producer of crude steel and the second largest consumer of finished steel. Exports have risen by 25%. But then you have the flip side. Steel industry primarily has been limited to areas where you have access to iron and coal. The migration from coal has not come. I used to study in my engineering time, and I had dunked in one of my internal assessments, where the professor had asked me, "What is steel?" And I was a little baffled because I had read everything in metallurgy, and Mr. Bhattacharya will just kind of save me out here. So I told him that carbon I didn't say carbon, I said coal is a very important ingredient. He said, no, go back to your books. It's carbon that's important for steel, not coal. Now think about it. Right from what we know, steel being, all of you have been looking at carbon only wedlocked to coal. I'll come to that a little later. Per capita of steel consumption in India is 1/3 of the world's average, and 40% of the total steel capacity comes from secondary steel sector, 40%. Large-scale investments, big-ticket investments have been a little checkered in the country. We all know the POSCO fiasco, which happened. Big plants, are heavily reliant on debt and borrowing. They are power and water guzzlers, and their reliance on coal has not been substituted as yet. Added to this is the geographical aspect of where steel industry is. So there are very clear pockets of it. You will have pockets in the Chota Nagpur region, which again is your Bengal, Jharkhand and Orissa belt. You will have the northern region, parts of it being in Ludhiana and that region. You will have in the southern part, and you will have in Vizag, courtesy your Bailadila mines, or you will have towards the western part, courtesy Kudramukh and parts of Zuari. So again, it's a very geographically dispersed kind of a, it's not very well spread across the country. Still then, you go and read Tata Steel's caption, that there is a little bit of steel in everybody's life. So that is how impactful this industry is. So this is like, a batsman coming and, scoring in a cricket match just for about 2 or 3 overs, but ensuring that the entire run rate of the team is about 2% of the India's GDP, which is phenomenal. Now the flip side, as I said, the negative side, is the over-reliance on coal. Our coal primarily comes from the towards the eastern coast. Australia, Indonesia are prime contributors to this, and we are also suffering at that, at that level also. Because whenever the prices go up or down, the steel prices also kind of go up and down, which is very interesting. Because if you look at how the OPEC countries have kind of balanced themselves, that if there is a production that is going to go and there is a price of oil that is going to go, that has to be regulated by a body. But there is no such regulation in the prices of coal that come in or go out. What is the government doing? The government has relied on either, some kind of a tariff, import restriction or anti-dumping duties. But that's not an answer. That's just a symptomatic treatment of the problem. The environmental impact is massive, and we are being called to reduce our emissions, as Singh Saab had told. We are contributing majorly to the I think it was 12%, he said. 12%, 12% of the CO2 emissions are from steel industry. This is phenomenal. Also, our dependence on coking coal is 85%. That must come down to 65% as per the steel policy, 2017. Well, then what is the government doing about it? So this is the negative side of it. Negative side is, yes, it's kind of plateauing. It's kind of going up and down. At the same time, the trajectory is looking healthy at 7.5% growth. Still then, what are we doing? What is the government doing? The government has come out with PLI. So the PLI scheme has been brought in for specialty steel. That is going to be the prime mover post-COVID, where we are going to see a lot of investments and a lot of incentivization that's going to come from the government side. Secondly, for the R&D, which somehow the steel industry has not indulged in. Case in point being, your over-reliance on coal for carbon and no other means. So an R&D is required in this. That R&D is now coming through this industry-driven setup called the Steel Research Tech Mission of India. Now that's going to have a strong industry, government, policy-driven contribution. We also have a Make in India that Singh Saab was also saying. The Make in India is looking at a lot of inputs coming from here, outputs coming from India. The freight corridors, steel futures are there to be seen. Now let me talk about the future part. This is the sob story. This is the current story. Let me talk about the future. The future is, what are we looking at? Primarily two things where the steel will be required. Number one, infrastructure. Number two, construction. Miscellaneous is there. I'll talk about the miscellaneous, but I'll just spend a few seconds on it. But primarily infrastructure. In infrastructure, over the next 10 years, we are going to have the freight corridors, 6 of them, which are coming up. We are also having 99 smart cities that are coming up. Every smart city, there's a bump up in the steel demand that goes to the tune of 12.3%. Here you have 99 smart cities that are going to come up in the next 10 years. You also have the railroad, the roads projects of Bharatmala. You have the rail project through Vande Bharat, where the demand for specialized steel and specialized railroads will be required. You also have the ports coming up. The Sagarmala project is now looking at expanding the number of ports in India, Tajpur being the closest that's being developed in Bengal. Construction is going up phenomenally. 2 decades back, we were looking at 18% of urbanization in India. Currently, we're sitting on 37.1% of India being urbanized. That means the demand for housing is going up dramatically. There is also an international level of this, which is the international part of it. We were just looking at India in India's perspective. Now we are looking at things outside. We are looking at the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. We are looking at various other investments that India is doing outside. We are also looking at investments coming into India and overseas involvements. Wars, as we speak, are also rekindling the demand for steel. That needs to be kept in perspective. The automobile industry, as of now, is going up. Gas and oil is going up. Capital goods are going up. Yeah, so it's a positive thing. But till what time? So what do we need? Do we need just intensification, as Singh Saab was saying? Do we need to expand our capacity? Or do we need intensification? What do we need? So number one is increasing production. I agree with him. So production can be increased through intensification, extensification through PLI, modernization, and through interlinkage. Right now, what we were doing is, we were trying and seeing, everybody was running, I'm sorry, I'm bringing up this thing, Lagan. I hope most of you have seen. How many of you have not seen the movie Lagan? Can I have a show of hands, please? Lagan, the Amir Khan starrer movie. Nobody has seen Lagan? Oh, this is amazing. Lagan, how many people have seen the movie Lagan? Oh, thank God, people are still awake. So Lagan, you see, when you hit the ball, all these fielders were running towards the ball. And Amir Khan says, hold on, not everybody must run there, it's a teamwork. You guys are more or less like Lagan. You're running behind the same cause, but on a very, very kind of, minuscule kind of way, rather than having a 4 into 100 meter relay, where one person runs and hands over the baton to the other. So the interlinkages have to come very, very, in a very pronounced manner. I will not spend or dwell more time. I would just, excite your interest into going and seeing what South Korea has done. The Shaebols did something remarkable with steel. They didn't have resources, but they did a 4 into 100 meters relay, which is what I'm also bringing forth here. Where the productivity needs to increase, that can come through two ways. The productivity can go up through incremental inputs or, through disruptive inputs. So innovation can come through incremental, improvement or through disruptive improvement. Case in point, Walkman versus iPod. Sony was sitting on its cassettes, recordings, so on and so forth. iPod comes, Apple comes with iPod and says, I revolutionized the entire concept of that cassettes that we used to use our, Reynolds pen to recoil. So it comes and destroys this entire thing through that incremental input. Can anybody tell me the first flat screen TV of the world? Which was the company that brought in flat screen TV? Sorry? Philips. Okay. Any other? Thomson. Samsung. Oh, brilliant. Oh, that's the bang-on answer. But how did Samsung bring it? It didn't bring it under its own banner. It brought it under Sony's banner. Sony introduced Trinitron. And Sony said, this is our flat-screen TV. And our OEM was Samsung. But did not play the 4 into 100 meter relay. Said, we keep the R&D, but we just give the flat-screen work to Samsung. Let them do this flat-screen work. Today, most of your mobile phones are working on flat-screen, vis-a-vis the tube technology that Sony was specializing in. The world is knowledge spreads through sharing. You can't keep it confined to yourself. Samsung today has overtaken sales and revenues of Sony. They have to migrate into different kinds of things. So again, sharing is important. The third important aspect for increasing productivity is complete overhaul. I will go in for a complete overhaul, and that can come through innovation. The innovation can come, which can be disruptive or it can be incremental. iPhone versus BlackBerry. BlackBerry was sitting with 4 years full of order books on BlackBerry, but still they didn't have, they couldn't see what iPhone was doing. Brought in a revolution and, changed the entire story of how BlackBerries work. Kodak, in fact, is another case in point. Anybody can also answer me, digital cameras. Who was the first company to bring in digital cameras in the world? You had these SLRs and all. Yeah, digital? Yeah, you are right. Yeah, actually, and which year was that? Roughly? Lovely. Yeah, so when did the digital thing happened when the iPhone, kind of harmonized it. That happened in 2000s or early, late 90s. When did the digital camera from Kodak, which you're right, came into the offing? When was it patented or developed? 75. 75. I mean, Kodak was sitting on its print and KB10 cameras till as late as 2000s, and it was not even aware that you have developed a product which was innovative, which has brought in, which was an invention, which should have been unleashed on the market. So another, learning that we should always bear, that we should always learn and not keep ourselves trapped shut. Most of us are engineers. We have done our engineering eons back. Technology has progressed rapidly. We do not even know what changes. So we need to keep our eyes and ears open. Small little trivia. As he rightly said, Kodak camera, digital camera, weighed about 3.5 kilos and was 0.01 megapixel way back in 1975. Now I come to the last part of my discourse, which is about climatic consciousness. We use coal. We can use better methods of power and cleaner, reduced reliance on water. Japan is working on using seawater for production of steel. Where the role of India as world leader is coming more pronounced, especially after the G20 summit. We should not be like Europe, US or China. Somebody kept on telling me China is doing this, why doesn't India do this? You are in the government, kindly help us. I said, yeah, definitely. You please unlock my feet and we'll do the same as China does. Well, China does something which, interestingly, India cannot even think of doing. They do not look at human rights, they do not look at labor rights, they do not look at any of the environmental laws. And they produce steel at far lesser prices than us and at a faster pace. I'm sorry, I do not agree with this narrative that, we need to be, apples cannot be compared to oranges. We are a more ethical nation. Our production norms are confining to each and every aspect of, our industry norms and international norms. And we are a very disciplined nation. We adhere to those norms, and that's where we need to now look at how responsibly we can contribute towards the steel growth in the world. The clean steel can come through trade organizations. Well, the blood diamonds were labeled as blood diamonds because they didn't conform to certain norms. Why are those norms not being, replicated onto countries which actually trample on all these rights? So, in any case, we then look at, how to build in a better, semantics on it. Looking internally, what do we need internally? Most of the steel industry looks at, borrowing and a lot of receivables that keep going in the market. Now, if there are receivables in the market, that means there is some amount of effort spent into getting the money out of the person who owes you money. Now, for addressing that, we've already brought in, the government has brought in something called as the mediation courts. That is also similar to something called as the labor courts. I mean, the labor courts were for labor, but the business courts are where you guys are going to be a part of the courts and you're going to settle your own disputes within yourselves. The adherence of going to a normal civil court is going to be pronouncedly lesser. But we must change faster than what change is changing. And for that, we need to come together and unite this world as a family. I take this last quote from what the Prime Minister had said, and it was echoed very effectively during the G20. It's Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is my family. I will treat it as my family. We are responsible people in that family. Let's behave as one and show some steel and metal in our character and resolve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandra. I was not knowing whether I am listening to a steel expert, whether I am listening to a management expert, or whether seeing a person from international. Excellent space. Thank you very much. Now I have a pleasure to welcome Mr. Arun Kumar Rath. His data is already there. I'll not take much time. He is having a lot of experience in the steel industry. He is having 40 years experience and leadership in the field of maintenance, project management, operation of large internal steel plant. He started his professional career in Rourkela Steel Plant. And, he took over the position of CEO in Durgapur Steel Plant and effectively turned around it. He is also chairman, he was the chairman of board of India's largest e-commerce company, M Junction, which is a joint venture of Tata Steel and SAIL. And also he is at present leading a brownfield project team for Odisha ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel Limited, conceptualizing and executing the expansion plan in the state of Odisha. With a brief, may I now request Mr. Arun Rath to give his presentation. Please.
So, good morning, Calcutta. Good morning. My friend Mr. Singh, and Mr. Chandra, Mr. Kumar and Akira sir, all of you and the veterans of Steel Tech, Mr. Bhaskar, Mr. Dr. Das, Susim Banerjee and all my seniors here. It's a pleasure to come to Calcutta, and it's more of learning than adding values. Many of Subir, many of the friends, just meeting them in a world where we meet more virtually. It's a pleasure to have that conference, physical conference, and sitting together and talking. It's a great moment. When I landed in Calcutta airport yesterday, I felt like home, though my home is in Bhubaneswar. Thank you very much for calling me. Today, I will be just, like it has been told that after 37 years in Steel Authority, I have joined ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel in Odisha, basically conceptualizing integrated steel plant of more than 30 million ton at Odisha in two districts, that is Jagsingpur and Kendrapada, two places by the side of a river. One side is 7 million ton, the other side is 24 million ton. So I'll be covering some specific issues and the perspective of ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel in India. How do we look at the issues here? I'll be covering very specific issues. I'll be talking of Indian steel industry and AMNS India perspective. Then I have chosen two subjects, two topics for today's discussion. One is the logistics. See, I joined in 1981 in Rourkela. So when I was told how Biju Patnaik brought Rourkela steel plant in India, how brought Germans to Rourkela steel plant, and how the public sector which brought steel and continuing with the progress of steel in India, I was told that the Germans, the Britishers, the Russians, they moved around India finding out where is the site. And Rourkela is chosen because it is part of the Howrah-Bombay route, and there was huge water in Brahmani river. These are the two, and huge landmass in the by side of a hill. That's the way this has been chosen. So logistics was that. at that point of time. So logistics, how the logistics are playing a role, that we will be talking. Second, technology support. All of Mr. Singh, Mr. Chandra talk of technology. I will be moving little specific about what exactly is happening, very specific on these two subjects. So let me start. So I'll be reintroducing. Last year, the same time, I was introduced ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel from this forum. We are hardly 3 years old. We are a joint venture of ArcelorMittal, whose again promoter belongs to this city, and Nippon Steel, again the Japanese leading steel company. We have our establishment, mostly as on today it's Hazira. Some of the Uttam Galva and some of the units you have taken over in Pune. And we are having our mines, two core mines, Eklamas, Thakurani, Sagasai in Odisha, and some of the mines we are in the verge of expanding our assets, and we have our assets in Vizag, Kirandul. Some of the things which is well known, so I don't have to tell again about this. So India is in a place where the GDP is growing. If you see the curve, the steel use may be less, but the way our GDP is growing, we are going to follow this curve. So India has a promising slot for steel industry, and there is really, we are sitting at the bottom of the curve looking at the sky to expand our capacity and to have a growth in the use of steel inside the domestic use of steel. So we are sitting on a very big opportunities for which the steel companies across the world are aiming at India. The growth trajectory is going to follow in India. So that is the way the steel businesses of India will be growing. The business will grow, but what about the environment? Mr. Avinash Chandra was talking about the environment. What exactly we do as we grow? India's current CO2 emission from steel industry is 2.55 ton per CO2 per ton of crude steel. This is again 12% share of we are the Indian steel industries contributing to the carbon, and we are the third largest emitter behind energy and agriculture. This is something, as we grow, the mines are there, the raw materials are there, the technology is there, the money is there, but as we grow, as we start producing, we will not be doing the same thing which has been done in other worlds. So we have to grow, not at the cost of environment. So this is one of the phenomenon or one of the factors which is going to affect as we grow. Again, both the promoter companies, ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel, are committed as per the norms of the government, the area they are operating. Both are committed by 2050 they will have zero emissions. They have got certain emission level of 2030. We at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel is about to declare our commitment, which we will be doing very soon. But it has to be in line with both the promoters company. So now we come back to logistics. What exactly is meant, how the logistics are playing a role in steel industry, and how at ArcelorMittal we are looking at the logistics side of, as far as the maximization of profit is concerned, as far as sustainability concerned. How do we look at the logistics? So, what the cost of logistic cost in India is around 16 to 18%. If you see the northern side of India is the consumption center where we are hardly, it is again, the whole transport is dominated by road and rails, whereas the eastern and southern sector are the production centers, and the western side is again some of the production center, mostly consumer centers. So the transport of steel and the transport of raw materials, because of no waterways or because of road and rail and the way our road and railway operates, our logistics cost in India is around 16 to 18%, whereas the international norm is 10 to 12%. So there is a huge opportunity for us, for the steel industry, to reduce the logistic cost. This is something which I wanted to point out. If we look at the domestic steel movement transportation, these figures are coming out. This has been published by Steel Ministry itself. India, if you see, the road is 52% and the rail is 47% and the waterways is hardly 1%. And you see with, not coming, very inconvenient actually. If you see the Japan, if the Japan is 27% and 40% and 23%. If you see, the waterways are playing a role in reducing the cost. And what exactly the government and the infrastructure and the industries are jointly planning, we have to reduce the roadways. It is not only the cost effective, it is the environment which is getting polluted. Railways has to increase from 52 to 60 and waterways from 1 to 15. So what exactly you are looking at? Reduction of cost in both reduction of transport road, increase of railway and increase of waterways. If you are looking at the raw material, it is the same story where our slurry is only 3%. So when you are talking of non-polluting transport of iron ore, fines, then the slurry has to increase, the waterway has to increase, waterway has to come from 5 to 10 and slurry from 3 to 13. And railways from 70 to 75, where road has to come from 20 to 2. This is the thing which you are looking at as far as logistics are concerned. So when roughly you calculate what exactly is happening, if road transport, if I am spending around 2,000 rupees per ton for 250 kilometer, through rail I am 50%, 1,000 rupees, waterways 500, and I am going to slurry line, it's 100 rupees. That is the cost economics. If you see the environment and other things, it also is, it is less polluting as we reduce the cost. And whole logistics is going to play a major role, which at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel, as our worldwide footprints are there, the same footprints we are trying to put it in India. So slurry pipeline and port assets are strength for sustainable iron ore logistics as far as ArcelorMittal is concerned. So what exactly is happening? We have got a 253 kilometer of slurry line, 20 is slurry line, which is transferring 12 million ton per annum. And Kirandul beneficiation plant, Vizag pellet plant is again 267 kilometer. You see the logistics with the slurry line is adding to the profit of the organization, which is the major strength of which you have inherited. So what exactly is happening in how we are doing waterways? We are a deep draft terminal at Paradip, 12 MTPA, deep draft terminal at Vizag, and deep draft bulk pad terminal at Hazira. So waterways and slurry line, if you are going for logistics from rail, road to waterways and slurry line, this is not only less polluting, this also adds to your profit. So again, second subject is technology support for profit maximization in steel manufacturing. I'll not be, for paucity of time, I will not be able to, this is a subject which will go to hours. But what we are talking is, what we are aiming at, we are aiming at new roles for utilities. We are looking at green energy, we are looking at wind, we are looking at Solar cell, we are looking at hydro with pumping. So the new infrastructure, like looking at hydrogen, looking at natural gases. Same DRI, how do we look at, how do we make it more efficient? We are looking at this. It has to be with need for new financing if you are talking of green steel. The customer behavior has to change. Now all of us are paying more to get an organic vegetable or organic product. Somewhere, some people has to come, even the government can come with encouraging the green steel. So there are many ways. If you are talking of technology only, you can talk. You go to financing, you talk of infrastructure support. It's a whole combination of ecology which you are looking at. I will skip it. What exactly green energy we have already planned in Andhra Pradesh. We are talking of a 250 megawatt round-the-clock renewable energy, pumping the water to the higher level, and then using the hydroelectricity, convert side by side wind and solar. A combination of everything is making it a green energy. I think paucity of time, I will not be talking more of that, but when you are talking of exploiting carbon neutral energy source, when you are talking of, see, the whole green steel, we are talking a lot, discussing a lot, but the commercialization and the viability of green steel is a challenge for the industry to make it really happen at the ground level. There are many aspects of that. If you are talking of carbon capture, and we are talking of identifying storage site through geographical assessment, development of transportation infrastructure, require regulatory changes. If you are talking of scaling use of green hydrogen, Odisha is coming with number of factories which will start producing green hydrogen. Everything is going to Japan. They are doing port-based green hydrogen and transferring it to Japan, because there is the thing which is happening, but subsequently all the facility will be used here, slowly. When you are, again, scrap usage, Tata has made centers for scrap, but the vehicle policy government is changing. So it's a combination of ecology, combination of complete holistic environment which is pushing us towards green steel and innovation, which we have slaved for long years. The steel industry professionals have slaved for long years. The incremental innovation which was happening since last 30, 40 years is having a jump now because of necessity. Okay, I'll not talk of many things, circular economy and 4R. I will not talk of reduce, but basically we have to talk of reduce, reuse. I will not talk question of remanufacture. How do we, instead of making it scrap, how do we remanufacture the processes so that the whole cycle will bypass and the whole decarbonization which we are talking will get a flip. So I'll just stress on this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, this presentation was excellent, but because of paucity of time, I request Mr. Rat to expedite. So thank you very much, Mr. Rat. We'll have some special session with you so that these all you can cover it.